Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Get Wedding Ready with me, Wura Manola. Happy New Year! This is one of my first videos of 2018, and I just want to pray that whatever goals, resolutions, targets, or whatever you want to achieve this year, I pray that you achieve it. A lot of you I saw got engaged over the new year, last couple of months, and are planning your wedding in 2018 or 19 or 20 or in the near future. And I just wanted to give you guys, my best advice for you planning your wedding so that you can have a successful wedding, so that you can plan your wedding properly, you can eliminate stress, and you can just have the wedding of your dreams. So this video is going to be my top wedding planning. I don't know if I'm going to call it my top wedding planning tips or top wedding planning advice for 2018 video. I already have a video on top wedding planning tips that I'm not ready to update. So this might end up being the 2018 top wedding advice for, the newlyweds. Alright, so guys, let's get straight into this video. So the first piece of advice I'm going to give you for planning your wedding is to enjoy the moment. By all means, a lot of you watching the video might have passed this moment where you've already got engaged, you've already told people you started planning your wedding, and you've clicked on this video for tips and advice, and don't worry, I'm going to get into that. But for those of you that just got engaged, I just want to advise you to please stay in the moment, because after this it all goes crazy, it all goes stressful. If you've not told anyone yet and you've just got engaged, by all means, that would be very few of you. I don't know any female who's gotten engaged and hasn't told someone immediately. But whether you've told people or anything, or whether you've already started planning your wedding, I just want to invite you to take a moment and just breathe and enjoy the moment, because once you start planning your wedding, you send out save the dates and everything, the clock is ticking and you're just on deadline, stress. So I just want you to enjoy this newlywed period that you're going through. I want you to just sit back and just make sure that you're ready for wedding planning. Alright, so let's get that out of the way. The second piece of advice I want to give you for planning your wedding 2018 and onwards is to pause and think about really important details. So pause and think about support, think about money, think about dates. Like, be adult, sit down with your partner, your husband, before you go out to your families, before you go out to your friends, before you even choose a wedding planner. And even if you start planning this wedding and you haven't had this conversation, I invite you to do that. Get a pen and get a paper and just sit down and say, okay, what kind of wedding do we want to have? How many people do we want our wedding? How much do we realistically have for this wedding? How much are we willing to spend? How much are we willing to borrow? Do we need to borrow money? Are we going to get a wedding planner? What kind of support do we have from each of our families? I feel like it's so important for you to have this conversation, so down the road you don't go like, how much do we say we have? You want to be sure of your finances, you want to be sure of the support system you're gonna have, and just support about the really important details before you start planning your wedding. So I invite you to sit down as adults and have this important conversation and make decisions together. And again, another thing I wanted to say is go into this wedding planning process together. I know as women we say the wedding is ours and we want to do things our way, which I absolutely 100% understand, but there's nothing more beautiful and more special when you do it together. You don't have to tell him every single detail. Just make sure that you're doing it and you're planning it together. So the next piece of advice I'm going to give you for planning your wedding in 2018 and beyond is brainstorm. I have people emailing me saying, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to start. Start by writing down, what do you want to look like? Do you want to look like a princess? Do you want to look like Kim Kardashian? When I mean Kim Kardashian, I mean like really fitted dress. Do you want to slay? Do you want to be modest? Do you want to get married in a townhouse? Do you want to get married in a castle? Like, brainstorm and write all these things down so that when you do go to a wedding planner or when you want to start planning your wedding, if you're planning yourself, you have somewhere to start. Don't just go blind and jump into wedding planning, which I feel a lot of people do, and they're like, oh, now I get my venue, oh, now I get my vendors, but where am I at? No, brainstorm and write everything down. Where do you want to get married? Location, building, everything. How do you want to look? How do you want your makeup to look? What kind of vendors do you think you want to work with? What kind of colors do you want for your wedding? Who do you think your bridesmaids should be for your wedding? What kind of food do you want for your wedding? From the beginning to the end, brainstorm and write. Like, let that paper be so full of what you want, so that when you hit Google, you already know, actually, I think I want a princess look, or I'm not sure, so I wrote a princess or mermaid, and you can check them rather than just going wedding dresses and being overwhelmed. So yeah, brainstorm and write down as much as you can. So the next piece of advice I have for you to plan the wedding of your dreams in 2018 and onward is to get inspiration. Inspiration is everywhere. On my last wedding planning video, I said to get inspiration for Pinterest, Instagram, Google, Tumblr. I think I mentioned a couple, but I want to add to that. Speak to former brides, because what you might think to have at your wedding might not actually work, and someone might have tried it and can actually advise you. Watch my YouTube channel. Obviously, subscribe if you're not subscribed. Visit as many wedding shows as you can this year. They're really, really good for you to, find out new suppliers, find out new vendors. I found this company that I use for my wedding gift list, for example, from a wedding show that I would not have known otherwise. There's so many things you can incorporate when you go for wedding shows. Also, go for any, events that has brides or vendors. I'm having a summer bridal brunch, so I invite you to come to that. Inspiration is everywhere. Don't limit it to the internet and social media. Just make sure you go out there, get inspiration. You might be walking around and you might see a beautiful flower or a beautiful piece of art. Take pictures, incorporate into your wedding. Don't limit yourself to just social media and Pinterest and all of that. Although Pinterest is a really, really good source for wedding planning. It helps you create the mood board. It has all the colors, all the different kinds of flowers, bridesmaids dresses, everything you need to plan your wedding is literally on Pinterest. But I would say also just go out, speak to people, go to wedding shows, and that's a fun way for you to enjoy your wedding as well, to meet vendors and meet other brides as well. The next piece of advice I want to give you for planning your wedding 2018 and onwards is to be realistic with your expectations. I would say have the wedding that you want to have, that you can afford to have, and have the wedding that would, show you and your personality. Don't have the wedding that social media says you should have, because you will end up getting bankrupt and going in debt. Don't be swayed by social media. Just plan the wedding that you want to have. I know it's easier said than done, and it's difficult when you follow all the wedding pages and my YouTube channel. I'm always talking about weddings, but at the end of the day, I'm just being real with you. This 2018, 19, 20, I feel like that's my motto. Marriage is so much more important than wedding. Don't force the social media hype. Be realistic with the wedding that you want to have. You don't owe anyone anything. You're not going in competition to be a celebrity or whatever. So I would say definitely don't force the social media hype and have the wedding that you always wanted to have. All right, so next piece of advice I'll give you when planning your wedding is get a checklist. This is so important because so many people forget things. I definitely forgot a couple of things for my wedding, which obviously I had to pay for financially and stress and emotional stress wise. But I would say get a checklist, a digital checklist. There are a couple that you can find on your Apple store or Android, store, or you can actually buy a wedding planner checklist that can be very useful. The ones that have, 12 months to your wedding, what you should be doing, 9 months to your wedding, what you should be doing, 6 months to your wedding, what you should be doing. There's a lot of those, and you don't even need to buy this. There's so many of them. Just Google wedding checklist and just go to images. You see so many of them that tell you that maybe from 12 months you need to secure your venue. From 6 months you need to start looking for your wedding dress. And 9 months you need to start booking your vendors. You need to send out save the dates. I feel like it will be a guidance and it'll be good to you to have something, especially if you've not chosen your wedding planner yet, or you're getting freaked out and you don't know where you are. And also I'm going to have a wedding planning timeline video coming up, so stay tuned for that, and that's going to show you what you should be doing at what points to your wedding. You need to be prepared for your wedding. There's nothing like someone who's not prepared for their wedding. They would start panicking, stressing, and just it's not a good feeling. So I would say definitely get a wedding planning checklist, whether it's digital, whether it's a notebook. Make sure you get that. The next thing I want you to do is to set your budget. So what I mean set your budget is think about a realistic budget that you have agreed with your partner. Set this budget down like you're setting powder on your foundation. When you set your foundation so it doesn't move and glide all day, that's how I want you to set your budget. Make sure when you set your budget, it doesn't move, okay? And I've talked about this in my video. Please go and watch my how to create a wedding budget video. That would help you. It's so important for you to create your wedding budget and set your budget and make sure it doesn't move. All right, so after setting your budget, the next thing I want you to do is to go digital. So obviously everything is now digital. What I mean by go digital is set up a wedding website if you wish, or you can do an Instagram page. People have Instagram pages that you can call love forever your name, or Mr. and Mrs. whatever you're going to be. Create your hashtag. And another important thing is obviously your email address. Create your wedding email address so that you can liaise with your vendors, your guests and everyone, so that even if you're not picking it up, your husband is picking up, and whoever you give permission to that email address as well. Don't use your own email address just in case someone else has to pick it up for you. Send out save the dates, digital save the dates, initial save the dates. If you still want to use the card, which I totally get because they're still good to have and personal, get initial save the dates that you can send out digital, just to have an idea of how many people have accepted and are coming to your wedding. And then to those people that have accepted, you can then send, you know, your invite, which would have all the details. So I would say your initial save the date, you can send that out digital, and then yeah, you can send your invites, you know, in the card. And you can also make that digital if you want, just depending on the kind of person you are. Obviously that will save money. The next piece of advice I'm going to give you is to plan for your marriage way more than you're planning for your wedding. So obviously you're planning for your wedding, you're visiting vendors, you're going this, you're doing everything. At the same time, plan for your marriage. You know, think about what kind of marriage do you want to have, what kind of wife do you want to be, what kind of, you know, husband do you want him to be as well. If you're religious, if you're a Christian, you know, pray, go for marriage counseling, read books. A very good book that I'm reading at the moment, which is so useful, it's called The Praying Wife. It is so good. It talks about every aspect of marriage and, you know, men and everything. And honestly, it will change your life. So I invite you to get that book. It's called The Praying Wife. It's so good. Yeah, read different marriage books and just prepare yourself for marriage, because the last thing you want to do is spend all this money and get divorced like down the line. So I would say definitely, you know, prepare for, you know, marriage more than you're going to prepare for a wedding, because the marriage is the end goal and is obviously more important. So yeah, get that book, The Praying Wife. It's so good. It will change the way you look at marriage. I feel like I'm going to start saying in my videos how important it is to plan for your marriage. You know, the wedding is great, to have a beautiful wedding, but I want to preach more that you should plan for, you know, your marriage. And we're almost coming to the end, guys. All right, so the next piece of advice I have for you, or tip, is for your vendors. I would say don't use Google for your vendors. The first thing you want to do with your wedding vendors, my advice would be, first of all, to go on social media and just using hashtag like London. If you live in London, for example, London bridal stylist, London photographers or wedding photographers and all of that. A good tip I can give you is to follow wedding pages like Bella Niger, Love Weddings, NG, African Sweetheart Weddings, and even Get Wedding Ready, and myself. These people feature a lot of vendors all the time. But one thing I would do is, even when you find your vendors on social media, it's so important for you to do your own research and speak to people who've used these vendors. Like, by all means, reach out to brides, reach out to me. For example, I use Adebayo Deru as my photographer. Reach out to me on Instagram and ask me, how was he? I've had a bride do that recently. Don't just book a vendor off social media because you've seen their work and you've seen their review. I feel like it's so important for you to take the next step and actually ask people about them. They always have the brides on their pages. Some of them tag their brides. A lot of them tag their brides. So just ask a bride like, hi, I can see you use this vendor. How was this vendor to work with? That's definitely my advice in 2018 and moving forward, because there's so many vendors on Instagram, so many. And I think the way to differentiate a good vendor from a bad vendor is word of mouth, and would always be word of mouth. Unless they've paid everyone they've worked with, you would obviously get the real team. So this video was more on wedding advice. That's me giving you advice on your wedding planning process. You know, if you want actual tips, like, you know, how to find your venue, how to pick your vendors, how to, you know, get inspiration and all of that, I have videos on almost everything. So please, by all means, raid my YouTube channel, binge watch my videos, and any videos you want that I haven't made a video on, please do let me know and I'll make that video for you. Any questions you have, please write them down below. Send me an email as well if it's private, at wuramanola@gmail.com. And also follow me on social media at Wura Manola or Get Wedding Ready. Share this video to your friends or anyone who's getting married or anyone who loves wedding planning process. Also like this video so I know what kind of videos you guys like. Subscribe. Yes, subscribe, guys. I want to get to 10,000 subscribers in a month, so please rate that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much. Lord. Let's start again. So thank you guys so much for coming by my YouTube channel, and I wish you a very, very happy wedding planning process. All right.